What's up, guys, and welcome to a new video for the watch list going into next week. The week of January 6th. And when we're taking a look at the overall markets here, we can see a few things. First, when we're taking a look at the indexes based on the score sheet, you can see we have had a pretty big flip between Thursday and Friday. Thursday we were pretty bearish, and we got bought up really quickly and brought to more of a bullish tone here. So we were a negative 42%. Now we are up to about 11%. So we're neutral now. We were pretty bearish. You can see QQQ is neutral, SPY for the most part neutral. DIA was bearish slightly. Um, IWM neutral, RSP pretty neutral, but they were all had a bearish tone to them. Now we're seeing, okay, we're looking at, all right, so now we're really getting neutral, almost scores of close to zero, but we are now in positive territory. So they cleaned up a good bit on Friday. So that's a good sign. Couple things. Um, the VIX also did a similar story. It was neutral, but did have pretty good selling momentum into Friday, dropping 10% on Friday. So with that drop in 10%, the VIX went from a positive 25, now it's down to a negative 21. So that's a good sign for the markets. Something cautionary that we've been talking about for a while now is that the dollar has remained bullish. You can see we had a buy signal back here that gave us a nice push, buy signal here that gave us a push, and we're just having continuations off of that. If we go look at the dollar here and I pull this up, yeah, you can see on the weekly, we're having a pretty big base breakout. We've had this consolidation stage with a high at this resistance level right here. Now, we broke that. I think we're probably headed at this point, as long as we hold above this 108, we're likely going to go see 110.50 here. Dollar is having a breakout, could potentially see a quick spike like this. So we do have to be aware of that. For now, we've got really high scores on the higher time frames, a 9 on the 4 hour, a 9 on the daily, a 9 on the weekly, and a 9 on the monthly with a monthly buy signal. You can see here that we're getting a pretty nice push off of that. We can take a look at the most recent ones. This one was obviously a pretty extreme example that gave a really big move to the upside. This one didn't end up working out too much. This one gave a pretty nice move from like 95 up to 102. So now here's the most recent one. So we'll see what this ends up doing. Maybe we get up to this high. Okay. So we'll pay attention to that and keep an eye on the dollar as that puts pressure on mainly tech stocks. If we look at TNX, if we look at, let's do, yeah, TNX has this big monthly um, squeeze forming, and you can see all the time frames are positive here. We've got a bullish tone all the way around. So we do have to pay attention to this one. Um, One thing to note is the inverse of this, TLT, which tracks the same, it's just the chart is opposite, essentially, is it does have sell signals here on TLT. Which means this means rates would continue lower. Okay. So that is a cautionary sign for sure that we are seeing some downward pressure. Or it's pretty likely that we could see the 20-year start to creep higher, interest rates to creep, or the 10-year bond, the 20-year bond, see those to start to creep higher. They've got really strong scores. Okay. So you can see here it's strength score of 28%, nothing too crazy for the internals. But something to pay attention to is TLT does look bearish, meaning that TNX will probably or has a good chance of heading higher. So we just got to keep that in mind. So you can see these signals seem to rarely miss. So you can see the buys went up, sells, buys, and we'll just keep an eye on this for the next ones to be posted up. So then now we're moving into the key names. You can see here, this is obviously outperforming the market. So we've got 11%, which is pretty neutral, 31%, which is a little bit better. And then obviously outperforming the sectors by far. So you can see that the key names, the big names, large mega cap names are leading the markets currently. So you can see here, if we look at, so TSM is the best setup right now in the markets. It's got the best score, and the quality of the chart is at the strongest out of all of these. So it's 61 out of 70. So this is a really, really bullish chart. So, and this is the semiconductor space. If we go look at what's number two is NVIDIA with a 57. So if we go look at TSM, these two are at the top of my watch list going into this week. So um, you can see here, even these buy signals gave a really nice push to the upside from like 118 up into 144. And then you can see these buy signals here gave us a massive move of almost 200% or 100%. And then you can see this buy signal here got us from 180 to 212. So we've got more buy signals here. So I'm looking for a continuation upside in TSM. So I think that looks great. So we should keep an eye on this. This also has, so it has a weekly buy and it also has a daily buy. You can see we're pretty much printing. We're also breaking pivot resistance. You can see we've got pretty much 8 and 9s across the board on all of these time frames. So very, very bullish chart. If we go look at NVIDIA, which is also a semiconductor, you can see here we've got this breakout, this little inverse head and shoulders action going on. And you can see we've got 57 as discussed, and you can see we're getting a weekly buy signal, which is a very bullish sign as well. So we definitely want to keep an eye on this one because we can see here the last buy signals caused that crazy, well, not caused, but was predicted that next really massive run from the split adjusted $50 to $97, so 100% return. And then you can see these buy signals worked very well. These buy signals here worked very well. So we definitely want to keep an eye on this for potential upside to trade these for a move higher. So we'll be keeping an eye on that. And then um, number three would be Google. And I think this is a really just solid looking chart. Not too much to say here. Weekly has fired, but if you look at the daily, we've got after that, I believe it was AI news, we have now been consolidating and creating this flag. And this is just a really good looking pattern. So I want to keep an eye on this to potentially play this to the upside and trade this for a move higher. Um, we're just now entering into a daily squeeze, so I'm looking for this to potentially give us an entry, maybe off the 30-minute, maybe off the daily, whatever that may be. And I'd like to trade this one way or the other and catch a move to the upside from this name. This is a really bullish looking chart. And then from there, that's a 33, which is pretty much a little bit lower score. And then we've got Amazon, which we can put here, um, which is number 4 on the list. This one, you can see here, just a daily flag. If I add the 21 EMA on here, and we're flagging right at that 21, and this looks really good for a continuation to the upside. So I'm looking for this is a we are forming a daily squeeze, so I am looking for a run into earnings at the end of this month. So I would like to get in a position to potentially play an upside move in this one. Um, and yeah, I like this chart. Bullish 24, 4 hour is a little bearish, which is okay. But I'm keeping an eye on this daily time frame setup. So this one looks really good as well. So we'll continue to have this on the watch list and the names to pay attention to. But top priority has to be TSM and NVIDIA because of the quality of those charts, and they're just the best looking things out there right now, especially the group as a whole. And then other than that, pretty much everything else is pretty neutral. So um, one thing we do want to avoid is the negative ones on this list, which would be Netflix in terms of going long. We want to avoid Netflix, which is a -10. You can see it's below the 21 EMA, trading below it. It looks like this thing is probably going to break lower. Um, Microsoft, this one has kind of just been a mess. You can see we had this breakout and it completely failed. We are in a weekly squeeze, but right now it hasn't had any momentum. So we just have to kind of be patient on this one and look to see if something else sets up. From there, we go to the sectors. So SMH, this one is the top one with a 48 out of 60. This one obviously is by far the best out of any of the sectors right now. There's a couple ETFs that actually look better than this one. So this does look great with a 48, but there's one called USD that focused on semiconductors. This one actually looks better in my opinion. So I do think that it's valid to have this on your watch list and potentially trade this one rather than SMH. Um, This one you can see here has daily buy signal, weekly buy signal, score of 56, and just a very bullish chart. And looks like it's poised to continue higher. So that one's one of the ones top of the watch list. And just semiconductors are really my primary focus this week. NVIDIA does have an event on Friday or earlier this week has the CEO speaking on Monday. So keep an eye on that. Number two is XLF. This really isn't a surprise because um, this has earnings coming up. So just to keep that in mind, earnings are coming up on this. So, or sorry, the earnings are coming up for names like JPM, all the big banks, besides really Berkshire. So this here's a name setting up. JPM looks pretty good. I prefer personally AXP. I just think this chart is a little more clean. Um, and the scores are relatively the same. JPM is a little bit better, but um, yeah, you can. So we've got 30-minute, 60-minute, and daily buys on this right now. So this one could be a potential candidate to trade into tomorrow. So let's go ahead, and then DFS is also setting up. This one looks great. Let's see. Wednesday the 22nd. When is JPM's? It might be this week. Next week. So JPM looks great. So these banks look like they're ready to rally into earnings. So you want to keep an eye on that. The sector as a whole is very neutral, but yeah. So, but that's the second best to SMH. So, but you can see the huge difference. SMH has a 48, XLF has a 16. So, next one that has a 16 is XLU. So, I haven't looked too much into this one here. Score is neutral, so I'm not really giving it too much thought. Like back here, it probably graded out a lot better. You can see had a 24, so it was at least bullish, and then you can see we got a 56. Um, and then ended up being a lot better setup and ended up making a pretty nice move. And I'm not really necessarily interested in that at the moment. Um, and I'm not really interested. So then you go to number three, which is XLC, or sorry, XLE, and then which is neutral, and XLK, which is neutral. I'm not trying to trade any of these. Because SMH is a subsect or industry group within XLK. So I'm just going to have my focus on XLK. Top industries that I want you to be aware of. So USO, this one had a big breakout last week. We had been discussing. We had a daily buy signal here at around 75.50. We're now trading at 78. That was a very nice move to the upside. We'll see if this one continues to hold. And you could be trading this through CL futures, but we've got this pattern trading here, not something I'd want to hold long term, just something that has momentum at the moment, and that actually grades out better than anything in terms of industry groups. Number two, we've got quantum. So this one is setting up in a flag. Let's see. So this one, not in a daily squeeze yet, but worth paying attention to see if we do form a daily squeeze and then potentially play the upside. But if we look at some of its top holdings, this one here actually just fired off a daily squeeze, IONQ. So this one is worth paying attention to. This is one of the stronger industry groups, so we can look to play the continuation on this one. RGTI is also a solid looking chart. You can see we've had a good bit of momentum or volume coming into this. This stock. And so I want to keep an eye on this 30-minute squeeze that's forming, that's trading above support. Maybe we could see another pop higher, potentially in above $20, but we are up against that key resistance of $20. And then QBTS is another one within this. Um, so this one's flagging, but something that's interesting is one of the top 10 holdings that's in quantum is actually a semiconductor um, Marvell, however you say it. But this one has a daily buy signal. So this one's worth paying attention to because we had earnings, we gapped up, we traded sideways. Um, we had this massive breakout. But on top of that, the monthly just fired off. So the monthly is firing off this month and could see a really, really nice upside move. So I'm going to put that up towards here and I'll probably take off RGTI and probably focus on Marvel. So that's another name that is kind of double dipping into the SMH category and quantum category. So maybe a retest of this level right here would present you a good entry. So, yep, that's a good looking stock. Um, then number three is X. So this is aerospace and defense. So this one I am keeping an eye on. Well, this has got kind of a slingshot squeeze going on. Um, no weekly squeeze, but the daily's got that slingshot squeeze and a little inverse head and shoulders action going on. And we've got Rocket Lab, which printed a daily buy on Friday. Um, not on big volume, but we've got a score of 55 on this one. So this chart looks really good and I think is worth taking a shot at. I'd be interested to see if it has high short interest. I would hope not because we're at all-time highs, but nonetheless, great looking chart, consolidation pattern. And I think this one is a buy going into next week as well. From there, From there, last one, arc, that's more of a neutral one. So honestly, we can probably throw that out. So really you want to focus on these three and semiconductors as your top focuses. So tech, space, um, within tech, be more specific. You want to be looking at quantum and semiconductors. Then lastly, the last one I'm going to give to you, oh, a space that is looking pretty good is apparel. So specialty stocks. I'm not going to go too heavily into it, but like specialty retail. So I guess I wouldn't call it apparel, but more specialty retail. So Urban Outfitters has been a great performer as of recently. We're waiting on that next daily squeeze to potentially buy this one. Um, Another one that I'm looking at, uh, that real or so Chewy is one that needs to be spoken about. This is in specialty retail, daily buy, weekly squeeze about to fire off. We had some great volume on Friday. So I think we're gonna go take out this high at least and go see $40. So that's another one to pay attention to. Um, but probably the main one that I'm paying attention to, or okay, so Ross, this is another one that's setting up as well with daily and weekly buys. And then there was one more I can't remember off the top of my head, but the last one that I want to talk to you about is ANF. I think this one is probably the best looking chart out of them. So this is a 56. I'm interested to see what is Chewy. Chewy's also a 56. So ANF is a little bit closer to the buy zone. So um, here we've got this consolidation pattern that's tightening. I think we're going to see a huge breakout. And I want to say it's to the upside because we have weekly and daily buy signals. So keep an eye on this one. Keep it on your radar. This one looks like it's ready to break out. They've had some rebranding as of recently, so I think that can benefit the stock a lot. But you can see here we've gone from the red compression to the black, and now we got that bullish momentum continuing to the upside. So keep an eye on it and look for the opportunity to buy it. So that's kind of it. So if you want a list of top things to be paying attention to, you want to be looking at semiconductors, most importantly, and then you want to be looking at quantum, and then USO, which is oil, and then specialty retail, and then Rocket Lab within that aerospace uh, spot. But main focus has got to be that those semiconductors. That's probably the best looking spots in the market right now that look as a whole trying to set up. So I hope this helps. Let me know if you guys have any questions and see what next week brings. Thanks.